new post here, courtesy of Podcast Cringe Bites. Just dropped a new post from Podcast Cringe Bites, courtesy of Podcast Cringe Bites. Brendan Schaub's new Epstein theory is crazy, featuring Joe Rogan. Fucking hell, man. It's crazy, isn't it, that Brendan's become the voice of reason in the Epstein files, right? Isn't that funny? Out of all the fucking comedians in that 250 group, friends of Rogan, Brendan's become the voice of reason. He is the one that is actually speaking sense, the most sense. He's the one that's speaking the most sense, calling things out as they need to be called out. It's a weird timeline we're living in, but props to Brendan nonetheless. Let's go.
Like Elon Musk and Trump are playing checkers while everybody else playing chess.
What do you mean?
Oh, because remember Elon goes, remember we thought there was a feud between them. Elon goes, Trump's in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
You need to release him.
Yeah.
And Donald's like, no, I'm not going to release him. Actually, I am. Check it out. The only thing the Epstein files about Trump is him reporting him to the police. And you know what's even more hilarious? ABC, CNN, NBC all had to report that yesterday.
By the way, that's not actually true. Trump didn't report Epstein to the police and wasn't the first whistleblower to call Epstein out. What had happened was, if I'm not mistaken, in the Epstein files, there's a report from a former police officer some 15 years later who said that Trump called him up one time and asked him about what was going on with Epstein. And when he found out that he was getting investigated or arrested or something, he was like, oh my God, that's good. It's about time, or something like that. There's no record of this phone call. There's no like actual record of this phone call. It's just the account of a police officer from 15 years prior, after the whole event. So it's not as if like somebody's got a tape of Trump, you know, in the fucking 90s or whatever it is, in the early 2000s, snitching on fucking Epstein. That's not true. And people also suggest that by that time, Epstein and Trump had already fallen out. They weren't friends anymore anyway. So, and people know that allegedly Trump is meant to be the kind of person where if you fall out, he goes until the ends of the earth to destroy you, type of thing. So most likely he was doing what he does best, isn't it? When you fall out with somebody, destroy them and bury them. Well, I think this is in the 48 Laws of Power, right? If you destroy your enemy, destroy them like thoroughly, type of thing. But obviously, if you're somebody that's a MAGA person, or you're like Brendan, you'll interpret that information as, oh my God, Trump was really early on calling out Epstein. He cut him off when he realized he was a weirdo, and then, or when he was a creep or whatever he calls him, and then he called the police on him. It's like, that's not really actually the case.
So everybody,
how great is that?
Yeah. So check this out.
They're letting them into the files one by one for like an hour at a time.
What?
This is not good. None of this is good for this administration. It looks fucking terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax.
Oh, what a difference 24 hours makes. Brendan Schaub has taken us on a whirlwind romance over the past 7 days, teasing us with some of the best takes on the whole Epstein files situation. Someone even suggested on one of my previous videos that he needs to be studied because his CTE is healing. Someone else suggested that Schaub is going to become the king of the ashes of the fallen Rogan sphere empire. And I'm even on the record for saying Brendan is absolutely correct. It turns out that the saying, even a broken clock is right twice a day, rings true. And for me personally, this cuts really deep. I genuinely thought that we had a legit redemption arc on the cards for Brendan in 2026. I even went and found a fucking clip of a wild horse running on a beach. That's how invested I was. But it wasn't to be. On the latest episode of The Fighter and the Kid, Brendan reminded all of us just how much of a dumbass he really is. The emotional roller coaster over the past week wasn't the beginning of a comeback. It was but a glimpse into the fleet.
By the way, before I let him continue, isn't it still kind of crazy, this tattoo? It never, whenever I see him, I'm reminded, I'm like, and by the way, that's a crazy face, but that tattoo, what the fuck? Like, I still don't understand the logic behind his tattoo. I don't understand it. Like, he got a tattoo of his two kids done up as like zombies, right? Decaying zombies with like some of their skulls, some of pieces of their skulls missing and brain matter exposed and shit. Like, why would you want a tattoo of your kids on your arm as like depicting them as zombies? I know zombies aren't real, I get it, it's not a big deal, but it's like, isn't that a bit strange? Like, I don't think I've ever seen that in my entire life. It's such a bizarre way to honor your kids. oh yeah, because my kids really like zombies, so I got them done. It's like, huh? Okay, I guess. Okay. But anyway, big up Brendan.
Fleeting brilliance of a redacted mind. Remember that episode of The Simpsons where doctors discover that Homer has a crayon lodged in his brain, and then when they remove it, he loses his identity and no longer relates to his buddies. He also becomes a genius, by the way. But then he has Moe lodge it back into his brain and everything goes back to normal. That's what this feels like. Schaub flirted with a life that was never meant for him and had us almost convinced that we'd simply misunderstood him for all of these years, only to blurt out the most...
I didn't say that. I didn't think that. I didn't think because Brendan had some sort of decent take on the whole Epstein files that I somehow misunderstood him all these years. A redact is a redact is a redact. He just happened to be the only voice of reason within his friendship group, but that didn't mean that suddenly he now was talking sense. I don't know where that come from.
Dog shit take I've ever heard from him. Not only did he get the chess and checkers idiom the wrong way around, he stated completely incorrect facts, drew false conclusions, and then reminded us that he's a partisan hack who cannot think for himself.
In the Epstein files, it came out.
It's a lot of Democrats. A lot of Democratic power structure.
There's both, but yeah, a lot of Democrats. But then,
also rich people.
But then they also played them.
Have you ever heard anyone pronounce both like that before? I know DSP's got a weird thing with the letter B, like burger. He does this weird over enunciation of B. But have you ever heard anyone pronounce the word both? Such a weird way to pronounce it, isn't it? No?
In the Epstein files, it came out.
It's a lot of Democrats. A lot of Democratic power structure.
There's both, but yeah, a lot of Democrats. But then,
both.
Also rich people.
But then they also played them. Like Elon Musk and Trump are playing checkers while everybody else is playing chess.
What do you mean?
Oh, because remember, Elon goes.
Big up podcast cringe. I didn't notice that. He's got it the wrong way around. It should be everyone else is playing checkers while they're playing chess, because chess is the harder game compared to checkers, right? It's a more quote unquote intellectual game. But he says everyone is playing chess while they're playing checkers. It's like, huh?
Remember, we thought there was a feud between them. Elon goes, Trump's in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
You need to release him.
Yeah.
And Donald's like, no, I'm not going to release him. Actually, I am. Check it out.
Well, his brother.
They've had these files forever, by the way.
I know.
It's not like they just got them.
Yeah.
Trump, they're aware of it. Elon's aware of it, right? So Elon and Trump are fighting, blah, blah, blah. Release him. You're in the files. And the whole media goes crazy. Everyone's like, yeah, Trump's in the files. That's why he's keeping him. Trump goes, I'll release him. Fuck it. You know what? I didn't want to do it. I'm going to do it. What do we find out? That Trump in 2012 notified authorities and goes, you guys need to look into Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Just a small point here. Brian's face of like intrigue and shock and stuff really annoys me. I don't know why. I kind of just want to ram his face into that microphone. Why have you got this shock of like surprise and shock? Or why do you have this face of shock and awe, let's say? Wasn't he just the other episode speaking with his whole chest about how this whole thing has been blown out of proportion, trying to play it all down and make excuses? All the while, he hadn't read a single file from the Epstein file. He hadn't, and I don't expect you to go on the website and start searching names, but at least maybe check out some articles where they round up the information, or just watch fucking CoffeeZilla, Voidzilla video. Just go on YouTube. There's plenty of fucking content creators making clips, making compilations about some of the more juicier details and stuff. How's he finding this stuff out through Brendan? Brendan's the one that's informing Brian about the juicy bits of information in the latest drop of the Epstein files. He has no idea about it, but 5 minutes late, he's going to start talking with his whole chest about everything. Oh, I want to find out who in the FBI. It's like, oh, this fucking face, this fake face of like confusion and intrigue. You know what he's kind of doing a little bit? It's a little bit like the Tucker Carlson face that everyone hates. You know, Tucker Carlson has that face that he does where it's like condemnation, it's like confusion, irritation. Just he's got really punchable face like Tucker. That's exactly what Brian's doing here. This like fake, like, oh wow, really? No way, you don't say, bro. You had so much to say last week. How do you not know this stuff?
Fucking devils.
He found out about it.
Not only did he find out about it, he reported it.
Look that up. I think it was even earlier, right?
Might have been 2008.
Earlier,
might have been 2008.
I think it was before that, he said, you got to look into, he banned him from our log.
Hold on. This is in an email to them. This is in all the DOJ, all the thing they released.
Wow.
This is Trump going, get these fucking two in prison right now.
Damn. Hold on.
20 years ago.
It was 20 years ago. Hold on. That everyone knew about Epstein.
Called Maxwell evil.
Wow. I thought that there was that Trump was going to be in really implicated.
That's what they want. That's what they want you to think.
Wow.
So Trump goes, no, I can't. Okay.
Thank God, goodness, you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this.
That was 20 years ago, Bubba.
You just said Trump told.
Hey, the only thing the Epstein files about.
Everyone knows Trump is implicated, though. There's plenty of pictures of them together. They were in the same circles. You know, like there's a suggestion that Melania, his wife, may have been somebody that was familiar with Epstein before he got with her in the first place. Like, this is like, I mean, and if anything, the Epstein files aren't really all about Trump. They're about exposing.
Powerful bunch.
Yo, big up Asadiz.
And then Trump beat up Epstein and told him, hey Bobby, you better stop before Trump zaddy feeds you another knuckle sandwich.
Exactly.
Obama was there, he saw all of it be.
Exactly. Obama was there. He saw all of it. Obama phoned it. Obama filmed it on his phone. Obama filmed that fucking whole scuffle on his phone. Of course he was there. That's hilarious.
Trump is him reporting him to the police. And you know what's even more hilarious? ABC, CNN, NBC all had to report that yesterday.
So everybody,
how great is that?
Yeah. So check this out. So I talked to somebody who's really smart and follows. This
yeah, you
stuff.
keep saying you got somebody.
And I said,
according to Brendan's big brain theory, Trump and Elon apparently orchestrated a fake public breakup. Yep, the whole thing was 5D chess or checkers, I forget which one. They planned a messy breakup to bait the left into demanding the Epstein files be released. Trump then stalls, lets the pressure build, and finally drops the files, only for them to reveal that he was the hero all along. This is like the plot from a Steven Seagal movie. But wait, this is the best part. Brendan's entire theory is built on an imaginary email that never existed. He's sitting there up in his seat, cap backwards, confidently telling us that Trump warned authorities about Epstein and Ghislaine and writing, except no such thing exists. What he's actually referring to is a former Palm Beach police chief who, in a later interview from 2019 with the FBI, claimed that Trump told him over the phone back in 2006 that Epstein and Maxwell were up to no good, and everyone knows about what they're doing. It was a cop recalling a phone call with Trump 13 years after the
Exactly what I said.
fact. There's no recording or documentation that the phone call even took place, no official report, no independent verifiable evidence, just a quote from an interview years later. And here's the funniest part. The article Chin literally pulls up on the screen explains exactly that. It says the claim comes from an interview with the former police chief, not an email or a document in the files. It was an interview. None of these redacts bothered to actually read the words directly in front of their faces. I mean, sure.
To be fair, I see this on Twitter a lot though. To be fair, I see this a lot on Twitter. People don't really read articles. I send a lot of articles to myself. Now on Twitter, you have a little Grok AI logo on each tweet. So when you press that Grok AI logo, it can pull up whatever information from that tweet and give you sources. So I tend to always kind of dig in a bit deeper. But there's a current trend now on Twitter where people will make the headlines seem really inflammatory and really crazy. But then when you actually read the article, it isn't as crazy as what they say. So a lot of people just go by what they see on titles or what they see in bold on like an Instagram story. So I'm not surprised that he didn't, read this. But most likely people like this, they just listen to what someone else says. When somebody else says something, you just repeat it, you know what I mean? Add your little twist to it. But very rarely are they actually reading, the information or the sources and making up their own mind. They're just parroting whatever somebody else said because it fits their political leanings and shit.
Bob and Callan were squinting, but they didn't manage to catch any of the actual words. But wait, Brendan doesn't stop there. He doubles down and claims that the only mention of Trump in the files is Trump reporting Epstein to the police. Bro, Trump's name appears thousands of times across all of the Epstein documents released over the years, and there are lawmakers who have publicly claimed his name appears over 1 million times in the unredacted files that haven't been fully released yet. And then Brendan gets genuinely excited because now the left-leaning media supposedly have to report that Trump is the hero of the Epstein files. Bro, what? We were so close. Just when it looked like Brendan had finally removed the crown from his brain and was operating at full capacity, he fumbled the W and reminded us of who he really is. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan is moving in the complete opposite direction.
When you look at your total conspiracy catalog of things that you like to dive into, outside of aliens, because everybody knows that, what are your other ones that you like?
Well, aliens is the most fun one.
Yeah.
This is the one that I hate the most.
Yeah.
Because this one scares the shit out of me. The fear of these, like, literally demonic human beings that are running the world and don't give a fuck about human lives and enjoy watching people being tortured.
Brother, some of the people that are in those files are on your show. They're some of your friends. There's not a lot of degrees of separation between the people that you have on your show and some of the people that are on that fucking list. Let's stop with the fucking curl clutching a little bit. Let's stop with the pearl clutching. Let's stop with that a little bit.
Enjoy watching people killed, participating in ritual sacrifice of people. We know that that has always historically been a real thing. And it's been something that you look at in history, you go, God, it's so sick. It's so twisted. It's so disgusting. And everybody wants to think, thank God that's not happening now. Here's one of the craziest ones. The day he was indicted in 2018, the very next day he ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid.
What?
Yes, that's a lot of sulfuric acid. You know, if I needed 5 gallons for my desalination equipment, but
Right.
239 gallons or whatever it is to burn kids. Yeah. To fucking get rid of bodies.
Well, it's kind of hard to think of any other use for acid, just in general. Right?
Immediately,
So
you think...
Immediately.
So it looks like Slow Joe is finally coming to the party and starting to ask questions like he used to. As it turns out, it wasn't the documented international trafficking ring and abuse of girls and women over the last 30 years that bothered him. It was the allegations of satanic ritual sacrifices that got under his skin. But it's not...
He's a Christian now, that's why, isn't it? He's a Christian, that's why. He's a Christian, that's why. Joe's going to church now, so he's a little bit more attuned, a little bit more sensitive when he hears stuff about, like, you know, witchcraft, Satanism, all that sort of stuff. It starts to trigger him way more because he's now going to church.
Just that, though. While Schaub is hailing Trump the hero of the Epstein saga, Rogan's getting fed up with Trump and his administration for covering all of this up and refusing to release the full unredacted files.
There was one where this one guy is saying to him, thank you for the torture video. It's literally a part of an email. The actual quote, thank you for the torture, like enjoyed the torture video.
It's so gross.
And they think they've identified that guy.
He looked that one up, I believe, because it's weird. They're letting them into the files one by one for like an hour at a time.
What?
Yeah, bro.
Like the Congress people can go look at specific. There's millions of files. You got to tell them which file you want specifically to look at.
It's crazy. The whole thing is crazy because, like, why have you protected people? And why is his name redacted? Why would your name be redacted if you're not a victim? Like, this is what's crazy about all this. Like, what is this? This is not good. None of this is good for this administration. It looks fucking terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax. Like, did you not know? Maybe he didn't know, if you want to be charitable. But this is definitely not a hoax. And if you've got redacted people's names and these people aren't victims, you're not protecting the victim. So what are you doing? And how come you...
I think he's heard the screams. I think Rogan's heard all the complaints on social. This is a weird 180 degrees turn from him. This is a weird 180 degree turn. I think Rogan's heard all the complaints from everybody, telling him he's not calling out this nonsense, telling him he's running cover, asking why Rogan, the person who literally had a show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything, isn't questioning things, while all of a sudden he's not buying into conspiracy theories. I think Rogan's finally heard. I think he finally heard and finally started reading the comments, because it seems a bit oddly timed. His 180 degree turn, it seemed oddly timed.
All this shit is not released. It's crazy. So this is the conspiracy that drives me the most crazy.
All right, so Rogan's getting frustrated with the merry-go-round from the Trump administration. The files are a mess. Some victims' names are redacted in one document, then visible in another. Some of the alleged perpetrators have entire sections scrubbed to protect their identities, even though the laws governing the release of these files were specifically designed to protect the victims, not shield the elites. So now Joe sees that and he thinks, this feels incomplete and it feels controlled. It's like they're trying to cover up a lot of bad shit. But then you have Brendan over in his storage unit on the other side of Austin somehow coming to the exact opposite conclusion. And Rogan's no longer buying the whole hoax argument from Trump. So according to Brendan's theory, Trump's only appearance in the files is as the heroic whistleblower, the lone billionaire warning the authorities about Epstein and Maxwell years ago. Now, if that's true, then why would he publicly frame the Epstein story as a Democratic hoax? Why tell people to forget about it and move on? There's nothing to see here. Oh.
Okay, cool. Anyway, you get the point. Big up Podcast Cringe. Big up Podcast Cringe. Great to see Rogan finally has awoken. Rogan's finally started asking questions. A little bit too late for me personally. A little bit too late, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Big up Podcast Cringe. Check out his video. Big up Blood Clot Podcast Cringe. That's the title of the video. You see it there. Podcast Cringe. The Epstein Theory is crazy, featuring Joe Rogan. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.